And what I'm going to do is actually link blues music to space travel.
Oh.
Which I thought, if Bill was around, was good. And I'll explain that later. So I'm going to share the screen. So this is the blues part 2. Billy had nowhere else to go and slept in a damp bed. He'd been impoverished for years. He caught pneumonia and died. You can see in this image, I don't know where it comes from. It looks a bit like an Edward Hopper painting to me, of him paying to people coming out of a shop or a store or something like that. I think that's it looks like a collection pot just at the end of his guitar, doesn't it? Anyway, so it was recorded in 1927. Dark was the night and cold the ground. It opens with him bending and plucking the strings on his self-taught bottleneck slide guitar. And that's the one known photograph of Johnson by himself, which you can see there. And you can imagine him moaning, groaning, and humming rather than singing in response to his instrument with a painful intensity. Dark Was the Night is a song that's said can move mountains and has inspired nearly every blues and rock artist ever since. Jack White called it the greatest example of slide guitar ever recorded. Ry Cooder, who's one of my favorite guitarists, described it as the most soulful, transcendent piece in all American music. It's so precious and momentous and true, it was even picked by Carl Sagan as one of 27 musical samples that was sent on the Voyager golden record.
Right.
This is the space connection, if you see there, Bill. And it's been hurtling through space at 35,000 miles an hour ever since 1977 on the Voyager spacecraft.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
What do you think that was?
Now, what you've got, Bernard, is that the disc starts with a greeting in I think it's 127 languages.
Yep.
And then you've got
the aliens have got to be very patient to get through them all. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and then there's sounds of animals, sounds of trains, various things, sounds from around the earth that's on there as well. And then it goes into music of Bach, Beethoven, Bob Dylan, Rolling Stones,
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry, yeah. Anyway, that's why you started off with the kids, because that
was Carl Sagan's 6-year-old son, Nick.
Yeah,
Welcome from Earth. And you're right. The Johnny B. Good track from Chuck Berry was there was a controversy over that because it was seen as too sort of adolescent, to which Sagan's reply was there are a lot of adolescents in the world. But this wasn't on that one, but it was on the earlier 1972 Pioneer spaceship. Why do you think this might have caused controversy?
Well, that was discussed in NASA in terms of was it appropriate? They're just sexuality. They're all scared of it, weren't they? They didn't want.
They were. That's exactly right. And they yeah, but there was also other controversy in that. First of all, it's the man raising their hand.
Yeah.
Sexism. And secondly, it wasn't all of Earth. It looks like they're blonde. And it looks like they're white, doesn't it? There was a hint of different sort of nose form. So that was controversial as well. It wasn't pan-racial. And thirdly, because it didn't properly illustrate the woman's sexual organs as well. But I'll not go into that anymore. But it's that was why that was controversial. That's probably why.
It was exactly that. I mean, they put these images up, and the discussion was, if you're going to do that, you have to show a reproductive genitalia. If an alien from another planet is going to see it, why, what are they? How do they function? So that was an argument that went on for years. and it was poo-pooed on religious grounds, on sanctimonious religious grounds, and not on a factual image that gave information.
It took over a year. It took over a year of discussion, not just from this one, but to decide what was to go on the disc. It's a bit like saying, what are you going to be your desert island disc? You know, you can go on forever with that, can't you, if you want to? So
maybe it's to show people in 1,000 years what we used to look like-ish in 1972.
I know, and
get AI taking over.
The whole thing about it is worthy of a tale in itself. There's an awful lot to it, and you're right. When you think about it, the point at which the Voyager was sent off was about 50 years on from the recording, and that is now 50 years on from today, almost. Well, in 2025 it will be. So there's something. I think there's a lot of interest in. Lot to get out of looking at what they were putting on as symbolizing Earth at the time. Anyway, that's enough of space, and let's go on to Blind Willie Johnson. And this was a song which was a kind of gospel song. I think quite something, but it's like all of these things, the quality of recording doesn't really fit it, but I still think it's a very interesting one.
Can I just clarify that bottleneck guitar? There's a bottle, there's a bottleneck. They would file off the top of the bottle, put it on the finger, and then when they're playing the guitar, slide and bottleneck, so it slides. So instead of is giving you that instead of the fingers moving across like that, it'd be the slide that does it with the bottleneck. So I thought I'd pass a little bit of information across it.
Well, you're always very helpful when there's anything to do with music. You've always got a really interesting.
Yeah, but you might all have known that already.
Well, I didn't know the practicalities of it. No.
Can I just ask? Sorry to slightly change. The lyrics, he wrote those himself, did he?
I'm not sure.
Because it's Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, isn't it? You know, praying to cast.
No, I think it's.
Not have to sacrifice himself.
I think it's probably from the Bible.
Yeah, it'd be derivative from what.
Well, yes, of course, but you know who put it into.
I don't know who actually put it into that, but it, in a way, the lyrics don't really fit with the music he does.
The mood does.
The mood definitely does, but not the actual. He doesn't actually go through those words, does he? So I don't. No, but it was just interesting putting them on at the same time. But the sheer emotional energy he's got and technique I think it's fantastic. Anyway. And well worth going out into space. Is there anything else interesting about Voyager? An interesting fact about Voyager, or I can tell you one, Bill.
Oh, well, you can if you wish. It's just beyond the Helios at the moment, which is at 35,000 miles per hour. They've only just got outside the reach of the solar system,
and making it the furthest object away from Earth that was man-made, if you like.
Yeah, and even radio signals have not caught up.
Right, Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Yeah.
Good old Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And this is about the Gospel and Blues train from May 7th, 1964, when I was 16, 17. And I was a real blues nerd. I collected the most obscure sort of Mississippi blues that I could get at the time. I had a real record collection, which I eventually got rid of, and I thought I got past that phase, though you never really do. And I was, little did I know, I was probably studying for my A-levels or something in Blair Road in Whalley Range, when less than a mile away, this was taking part in an abandoned railway station, as I say, almost within throwing distance of where I lived. And I didn't know about it because I wasn't sort of tuned in. I never went anywhere, so perhaps that's how I never heard about it. But it's the one event I really regret not having been able to go to, or not going to. Anyway, it started, it was John Hamp, who's a producer at Granada TV, and he filmed the Gospel and Blues Train, and it featured Muddy Waters, Rosetta Tharpe, Country Joe Pleasance, Brownie McGhee, and Sonny Terry. And it was taken over. And it was always thought that this was in the train station in Chorlton, just besides where Morrison's is now, but it wasn't. It was actually on the corner of Alexandra Road and Maldus Road in Whalley Range. And that's one of the original tickets for it. And it actually there shows quite definitively where the station was. And whoever's ticket this was managed to get the signatures of quite a lot of the people on it as well. I like that. Please be at Central Station, 7:30 prompt. So it was dressed up as a Deep South Railroad, complete with sacks, cargo crates, wanted posters, a few chickens and a couple of goats, and a sign claiming Chorltonville, because it sounded a bit Deep South Railroad rather than the Wilburn Road Station, whatever it was.
This morning, I didn't have my baby by my side. Well, when the sun rose this morning, I didn't have my baby by my side. I couldn't look a cold dog in the face. Yeah, New York ain't so many hot dogs. Ooh, Lord, I couldn't look a cold dog in the face. and guitar virtuoso, the inimitable Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
All the sweet horsey. Oh, this is the wonderful time of my life. Oh, let me tell you something. Uncle Joe, it's raining and the people are so kind to see you. And I'm afraid it is. Oh, it makes me feel happy. We can start in the rain and sing. And the people are so sweet to stay here. And I come in on let me tell you what I come in on. Oh, yeah! Get it, kid. You know it did, didn't it? Oh, yes, how it rained. I said it rained, children. Rain, oh, yes, didn't it? Yes, didn't it? You know it did, or didn't it? Oh, my Lord, how it rained. You know it rained 40 days, rained 40 nights. To make my gum not fit me right. When I get to heaven, gonna put on my robe, walk around in glory, tell the glad news. Look up David in the heat of the day, tune up the harp and begin to play. I know it rained, you know it rained. Oh, how it rained, rain too long, all night long. Rain, 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 rain. Didn't it rain, children? Rain, oh yes. Didn't it just, didn't it, you know it did, or didn't it? Oh, my Lord, how it rained. The whole wide world in his hand, the whole wide world in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got you and me, brothers, in his hand. He's got you and me, brothers, in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand.
got disorientated there for a second. Well, I've had to stop it there because it goes on a bit, and I had a shortened version which I played the wrong bit. But I think it gives you a flavour of what it must have been like. It was absolutely extraordinary enterprise. The year before, the Blues and Gospel Train, which was it was old blues singers. It was a German entrepreneur who got the tour going throughout Europe, and the only English venue was Manchester, and a minibus was hired for Eric Clapton, Keith Jones, and various other rock alumni to come and watch it. This was in the Free Trade Hall. And I think I was there. I went to one of these blues and gospel shows. It was one with Howlin' Wolf and Lightning Hopkins. And they were absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
That's great. I can't imagine that railway station, though.
Well, do you know, road. If you might have seen, there was a part where you could see cars on a road. That's Princess Road.
Right. Okay. It's not Chorltonville, though.
It's certainly not Chorltonville. It's Whalley Range, as I said. This old station there. Chorltonville was just chosen because it sounded a bit like a deep south.
There's topicality in the sense of what Bill talked about last week when he was saying, about the racism. I mean, Muddy Waters, who was on that wonderful way he cries out and he goes, I'm a man, I'm a man. You know what I mean? That he's never been recognized as a human being. And it comes out of that. But this guy was known for his political stuff, J.B. Lenoir. But I'm fortunate to have kept a lot of blues CDs. I must have about 30 different artists, really good stuff.
You want to go back to things like the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, and that definitive Lead Belly is really good. And actually, Val and Bernard, just round the corner from you, if you go left, there's a record shop just next to the pharmacy, and has all this stuff.
King B Records, yeah.
Yeah, and it's mostly vinyl and so on. But and Tom Paxton, who wrote the song about Vietnam as well. Lyndon Johnson told the nation, have no fear of escalation. We are trying everyone to please. Although